Welcome to another episode of Adventures with Time. I'm your host, Bob. Today we're gonna... Who is that? Ugh, what a pain. Hey, cat. Oh, somebody's here with a delivery. Let's see what it is. Oh, thank you. I designed for this? Okay. Thank you. Look what I got. Let's go see what it is. Okay, let's open this puppy. Wait a minute. This story starts about 7 months ago in March. Back in March, I was just trying to learn about different watchmakers. And as you know, YouTube is a major source of my information on watches. I came across several episodes on Ball watches, especially this one by TGV on the Urban Gentry channel. He went into a great deal of historical information about this company. And what a great story. In 1891, there was a great train crash in Kipton, Ohio. The crash was primarily caused by failure of the conductor's watch. From this, W.C. Ball led the industry to adopt strict standards in timekeeping for the railroads. These standards include timekeeping appearance, operation, and most importantly, quality. Ball produced his own watches from his Cleveland, Ohio watch company until in the 1990s the company was moved to Switzerland. I really became captivated with Ball watches. After all, they fall in line with many of my collecting guiding principles, as I mentioned in my first episode. It's a watch brand with great historical significance. They produce high quality and attractive watches. And of course, it's a brand that's not well known by the general public. So I looked into their watches on the Ball website. Ball names their watches after the titles of different employees in the railroad. But looking across all their watches, it became clear to me that they were more expensive than I was willing to spend at that time in my collection. So I put them on the back burner. Then in late February, I got a notice from Ball that they were announcing 2 limited edition watches. Both were available for pre-order at significant discounts. The 43 Trainmaster Cannonball chronograph and the 40mm Trainmaster Standard Time 135th anniversary. Both available in different colors with different types of straps. To me, each had different attributes that I liked. The Cannonball had that characteristic ball crown, which resembles the front end of a steam engine, while the Standard Time had that RR counterbalance on the second hand. The Cannonball was a chronograph with 2 subdials, but the Standard Time had that date complication. For sure, whatever model I got, I was going to get the white enameled dial variety, and of course, on a bracelet. In the end, it was the Standard Time model that won out. Not because it was about half the price of the Cannonball. I think what drove me to it was that RR counterbalance on the second hand. And after all, a date complication to me is more valuable than a chronograph. So I put in my pre-order, again, white dial and stainless steel bracelet. And then I waited until this day in late October. Okay, let's open this puppy. Nice box. Accuracy under adverse conditions. Let's see what's inside. Okay, I guess that's got the watch. And what's this? Ah, a CD. This must be where they put their manual. rather than printing it. Okay, watch that later. Let's see the watch. Looks like what I ordered. I'm going to open all this and take off all the secure plastic offline. Let's take a close look at this Ball Trainmaster Standard Time 135th anniversary watch. And we'll start with some overall dimensions, specs of this watch. It's a 40 millimeter wide watch case, a little over 10 millimeters thick, even with that domed crystal. It's got 20 millimeter lug width, and lug to lug it's 41 millimeters. And you can see that the lugs are quite short and curved, but don't really dip down below the bottom of the case. It's got what Ball calls a RR1101 movement, which is based on the ETA 2892-2 movement and 28,800 beats per hour, which is why you get that fairly smooth sweeping second hand. It's got a depth rating of 50 meters, and it's got for illumination these micro gas tritium tubes, and we'll talk about that later. The crystal is sapphire and got some anti-reflective coating on it, and sometimes maybe there I can pick up that blue tinge you get from the reflection. Let's take a close look at that dial. White enamel, that's what I ordered, with Arabic numerals for the hours. To me, very reminiscent of the large clocks you'd find in a train station, like the one where I grew up in New York City, Grand Central Station. Very historical look. It's got at the 3 o'clock position the calendar or date function. And I guess my only small complaint about this watch would be the placement of that date. It is very close to that 3, almost squeezing it, not quite cutting it off, but I'd prefer to have it maybe a millimeter to the left there. You can see at each hour and on all 3 hands are tritium tubes for some night vision, and we'll talk a bit about that later. Under the 12 o'clock is that Ball official railroad logo, and above the 6 o'clock is the automatic, and at the bottom Swiss made. Now if you look very closely, you'll see a nice neat detail. That 7 for the 7 o'clock position is really constructed of some words. The horizontal top part of the 7 is made up of the word ball and an ampersand under that, leaving what I see as just a C, the letter C, for the bottom part of the 7. So I read that as Ball and Company. I don't know if that's right, but that's how I view it. And on that second hand, you can see the counterbalance of RR, the Ball Signature Railroad logo. And let's talk about those hands. Second hand is a very thin needle with a rectangle about a third of the way down. That minute hand I would call syringe, although the part just before it becomes a needle, instead of being right angles, has got sort of a sweeping or a curve to it. And that hour hand to me is a teardrop hour hand. As I said, the crystal is sapphire and it is domed. The case is stainless steel, polished all over on the sides, the bezel, and even what's on the case back, although it is a display case back. We'll get to that later. The crown is not screwed down, but it's got the I've got that upside down. It's got that RR logo again. And let's turn our attention to the back. As I said, it's a display back. You can see the rotor, if I get this to focus there. The rotor has got the word Ball on it. Round the display window is Ball Watch Company and Swiss made. Over there above the Swiss made is the model number of this watch, which is NM3288D. Over on the 9 o'clock side is the sequence number. I got 24 out of 1,000. This watch was limited to 1,000 pieces. I got 24. Only reason I selected that is 24 hours in a day. Over here at about the 1 o'clock position is the serial number of the watch. And then over here on the other side, in very small print, is what I believe is the maker and the indication for those tritium tubes. MB-micro, I believe, is the name of the company that makes those tritium tubes. And H3 is the symbol for tritium. The crown, as I said, is not screw down. It's got 3 positions: a winding position, a quick set position for the date, and of course the last position, which is hacking and time setting. Now let's take a look at that bracelet. I ordered it on the bracelet. The bracelet is constructed of solid end links, and each of the links have a polished couple of runners in the center and brushed on the outside. Sort of looks like a railroad line with the tracks laid down. Edges are polished, and the links that can be removed are removed by little micro screws. Now the clasp is I believe it's called a hidden deployment clasp, so that when it's closed, you really don't see the clasp from head on. All you see is that RR little button there. Let's take a look at how that looks on my wrist, and I've come to realize that this 40 millimeter size is just about perfect for my 7 7/8 wrist. I lucked out in that this bracelet didn't need any adjustments to fit my wrist, and I've been wearing it a couple of days. The trick is to figure out how to open a hidden deployment clasp, and after looking around the internet for a while, I realized that the way you do it is stick your finger in between the bracelet and the clasp mechanism on the inside and just pry them apart, and then do the same thing on the other side, and the clasp opens up. And you can see this butterfly clasp is milled and highly polished. Now let's take a look at how the tritium tubes look. Now, to me, the advantage of tritium tubes is that they don't have to be charged by sunlight or any light source. They simply work for a period of time, and I've heard anywhere from 20 to 25 years, and then they have to be replaced. I think the downside is that they are not as bright as luminous paint, such as superluminova. However, I don't really use or read my watch at night, so the brightness of the illumination really isn't a factor to me. So that's it. I think I've covered everything about this watch. I hope you enjoyed my adventure into Ball watches. Please let me know your perspective on these watches and about your adventures. Keep on watching, and if you haven't done so already, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. See you in the next episode.